Welcome to our live training session number 19, part 3. In this video, we're going to take a look at mapping out our high cam fuel and ignition timing, as well as setting our VTEC point and adjusting our cam gears. We're going to have a lot to learn, so let's jump into our live training session so we can get started. Welcome back to our live training session here with our Acura Integra being tuned with Hondata s300. In the last video, we mapped out our fuel and ignition timing on our low cam operation. We're ready to turn on VTEC, map out our high cam fuel and ignition timing, and then set our VTEC engagement point. Now, before we do anything else, let's review what we found in our last video when we were doing our last pull on the low cam. Specifically, I want to take a look at our fuel curves here. So looking at our two-dimensional fuel curves, we're going to find here in our columns 8, 9, and 10, this is going to be a good representation of our torque curve of our engine. Now, I mentioned that in the last video. Let's take a look here at our two-dimensional view and then take a look at our dyno screen right now. When we're doing our comparison here, if we're kind of taking a look at where we have our two peaks, we have a peak here and a peak here. If we're kind of going downwards, looking down here, right around 3,000, we should see here on our dyno screen, we're going to find that we have a peak point on our torque curve. If we're looking here specifically, let's get our highlight here. We're finding we have a peak right about here, and then we're finding we also have one here right about, looking here at about 6,000, 55, 6,000, we should see that we have another same kind of hump right here, and we're taking a look right at this point right here. We're going to be finding that is going to be roughly at 6,000, 5,800, and we're finding we have a peak here in our fuel map. And that's because that's going to be where we have peak cylinder filling. We need the most amount of fuel delivery. So we're going to find these 2 points are going to be represented on our torque curve, and it's also going to give us an indication of where we might want to have our VTEC engagement. Now, on something like this, it has a little bit bigger cam than stock. We're going to find that the VTEC engagement is probably going to be higher than stock. So on a stock cam, you might be able to lower it as low as 3,800 if we're going to be kind of doing that tuning process. On something like this, I'm going to be expecting it between 5,000 and 6,000. Now, looking at my low cam fuel curve, now that I've tuned this out and everything's looking good, and looking at where my peak fuel delivery is going to be, I'm going to take a good guess here that my VTEC is probably going to be anywhere from 58 to 6,000, right where my peak fuel delivery is going to be. And again, I know this with looking at my dyno graph here. I'm looking at my peak value right here, which is happening roughly right around 55, 5,800 RPM. So I'm going to be guessing after that point, we're probably going to gauge our VTEC. So before we go any further, we're going to turn on our VTEC. Let's actually go in here. We're going to turn on our VTEC because we had it disabled in the last video. Now, we could set it at that point